1453 was a prolonged conflict between England and France, characterized by a series of intermittent battles, skirmishes, and truces. The causes of the war can be categorized into long-term and immediate factors. The primary long-term cause was the complex dynastic struggle between the English and the French royal families. In 1328, the French King Charles IV died without a male heir, and the crown passed to his cousin Philip VI of France. However, Edward III of England, who was also a descendant of the French royal family through his mother Isabella of France, laid claim to the French throne. Edward's claim was based on his lineage, but the French nobility rejected his right to rule, as French law prohibited inheritance through the female line. This exclusion of Edward from the French succession became a major source of tension between the two kingdoms. Another long-term factor was the English territorial claims in France. The Plantagenet dynasty, which ruled England, controlled large territories in France, especially the Duchy of Guyenne. These lands had been granted to the English monarchy after the Treaty of Paris in 1259, but disputes over the extent of English control and the English king's vassalage to the French crown created ongoing friction. English monarchs, particularly Edward III, believed their French lands should be recognized as independent realms. The French monarchy sought to exert greater authority over them. Economic factors also played a role in fueling the conflict. Both England and France depended heavily on trade, especially the wool trade. England was a major wool producer in Flanders, which relied on English wool, was an important trading partner. Economic rivalry, particularly over control of trade routes and markets, intensified the hostilities. The Flemish Revolt, partly driven by economic pressures, saw the Flemings seek English support against French dominance, further straining Anglo-French relations. The immediate cause of the war stemmed from the succession crisis and escalating tensions. In 1337, King Philip VI of France seized the Duchy of Guyenne from Edward III, accusing the English of violating the terms of their fealty. Already angered by his exclusion from the French throne, Edward responded by officially declaring war on Philip, thus initiating the 100 Years' War. Another immediate factor was England's support of the Flemish rebellion against France. The Count of Flanders sought English assistance in resisting French influence, and French attempts to suppress the revolt were viewed by England as a direct provocation. Furthermore, Philip VI's decision to confiscate English-held lands in France, particularly Guyenne, was seen as a direct challenge to English sovereignty. This provided Edward III the pretext to not only defend his territories, but also renew his claim to the French crown. In conclusion, the 100 Years' War was sparked by a mixture of dynasty ambition, territorial disputes, and economic rivalry. The immediate outbreak of war was triggered by Philip VI's seizure of English territories and his refusal to recognize Edward III's claim to the French throne. These events unfolded against a backdrop of long-standing tensions, setting the stage for a conflict that would endure for more than a century.